Fam, good morning. What is going on? It is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Can I get a roll tide inside the comment box? I appreciate you guys being here today on this beautiful Monday, September 30th. I appreciate you guys so much for being here. So much gratitude. And what a weekend it was in college football. Today on the show, top 25 rankings. Alabama moves to number 1 in the AP Top 25. I'm going to go over my top 10 rankings. We're going to talk about the Heisman watch. Upon further review, a couple things that stood out after the game. Play a little Monday morning quarterback. Take some calls around 11 a.m. We're going to look at the snap counts and season stats throughout the first 4 games of the season. We will then have Nick Sheridan's press conference along with Coach Kane Womack at 11:30. Walk you all the way to Coach Kalen Deboer's press conference at 12 p.m. Yes, we will be taking calls at 11 a.m. or when I wrap up kind of my opening segment. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much, everybody inside the comment box, from Chris in New Jersey to Bama Mike to Rocket Town, Ed D, UMass 320. What's up? Derek Austin, I see you. Steven, what's going on? Anthony Bum, Tim Pitt, Bama Productions, Amanda, Charles Weaver, Charles Jarvis, and Chris Waltman, all up in the house. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here on Bama Football on YouTube. Jarvis opens up that Alabama is a 24-point favorite over Vanderbilt. Yo, look, Vanderbilt's been punching above their weight a little bit, and I like what Coach Kalen Deboer said after the game and the post game. I always listen to everything like again and again and again. And you know what? He said something that I really appreciated. He was like, look, when you work for something, you get what you work for, right? We always talk about entitlement and things like that, right? But he was like, you know, when you work for something, you get what you work for. And it's my job, he's talking about himself, to maintain the right psychological disposition of this team. He didn't use those exact words, but basically what he was saying is, yeah, this is a great win. We expect to win games like this, but you can't be too high, right? You can't, like that game. Is it for SEC positioning? 100%. Was the national spotlight on it? 100%. The recruits, 100 recruits leave happy? 100%. But the game last night was not the national championship. And as you look to Alabama's schedule, there is a long season left, right? You can't peak too high. It's only been 4 games of the season, right? So I thought that was great. I mean, you got to, look, celebrate the victory, and why not? I mean, everyone I talked to this morning at the workouts, yesterday, I had people calling me. That was the craziest game I've seen in a while. And I'm sure you guys saw when Ryan Williams caught that pass on the clock. It was 2 minutes and 26 seconds. Like, you can't make this stuff up, right? Just incredible against Alabama. Just absolutely bananas. Love it. And to see the Alabama. You know what? Before we start talking about all this stuff, I wasn't necessarily surprised to see Alabama jump up, right? I didn't expect them to go up 28-0. I was like, okay, Alabama will get up and they'll probably control the tempo of the game. But, man, for what I didn't expect was that, and then I didn't expect Georgia to come back like they did, and I didn't expect Georgia to take the lead. I was like, oh, man. And credit to Kirby. You know, when they showed Coach Saban, and it was 28-0. Did you guys see this? They showed Coach Saban up in the stands, and he was just – he's seen this before. Game's not over at halftime. Never, right? I mean, Georgia thought they won that game at halftime back in the national championship. Alabama came back and won that game. Game's not over until it's over. Coach seen it before. He's seen, big-time plays in the first half, and, things can go different in the second half. Kendrick Insane is calling for some love on C.J. Dupree. Yo, he played a really good game. We'll talk about the tight ends today as well. Josh Cueva is stepping up as well. And, of course, Robbie Oots, and I'll hit on this in a little bit, but Jalen Milroe was able to connect with 11 different wide receivers in that game, right? Which is absolutely impressive. Jalen Milroe in that opening drive, too, going 11 of 11 before, it was a incompletion on pass number 12. Damn, that was 11 of 11 to open up. And, when he had those intermediate passes, that's the best game Jalen Milroe's ever played. He continues to just trend completely upward. Patriot Life in with 5 fan funderships. So what that does is that allows you to become a fan funder for a month. And we appreciate you guys. Patriot Life always supporting the product right here. If you want to support Bama Football on YouTube, just $2.99 a month. Hit the link over the homepage. Super Chat's greatly appreciated. You guys just being here is great. Hit the thumbs up. I appreciate you guys. This is the long show today on Monday. Start at 10, go all the way past Coach Kalen Deboer's press conference. That'll be here right here on Bama Football on YouTube. All right, let's get into it and go over our first topic. And, of course, we'll rehash a couple things before we jump into the top 25. But Alabama defeats Georgia in a wild one here at Bryant-Denny Stadium on Nick Saban Field. Alabama 41, Georgia 34. In this game, Jalen Milroe 374 yards with 2 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe 117 rushing yards with 2 touchdowns. And Ryan Williams 6 receptions for 177 yards and a touchdown. Probably one of the dopest plays. Like I said in that video, that was one of the dopest plays I've ever seen, period, in college football. That was it. All right, on Georgia's side, Carson Beck, my goodness. You know what? I'm getting a lot of appreciation for him because anybody who would have thrown 2 interceptions and thrown a intentional grounding, which led to a safety, they would have completely collapsed. The guy comes back and he throws for 300 yards in the second half to finish out with 439 yards passing against Alabama. Now, he did throw for 3 interceptions, but yo, warrior mentality. I never saw that guy start crying, start sulking, throw his helmet into the turf. Like, that was a bad half. And he came back, responded. And that's good coaching. That's understanding it's a next play mentality. And that's understanding that you've played in games before, and it's not over until the game is over, until you're back home on the airplane or the bus and you're going home. So, game's not over until it's over. But Alabama comes up with the victory, and it was definitely heart-pounding. Right? Everyone keeps talking about 17. Someone said it took us 17 years off their life. There was 17 this. I need to add a 17 emoji. What's up, Deborah? I appreciate you being here. No, Jarvis is like Isaiah Bond. Well, Isaiah Bond didn't catch that pass against Auburn. It was Jermaine Burton, right? All right, this is what we're tracking today when Coach Kalen Deboer hits the podium at 12 p.m. Like I said, I don't even know. There might be another injury like Devontae Smith. I think that those were cramps. But let's start out from the top. Kendrick Law has a lower leg. Coach Kalen Deboer didn't really know too much about it after the game. He just said lower leg. Now, this happened on a gadget-type play, and we'll talk more about that. I didn't like the gadget plays. Did you like the gadget plays? Yes or no? Hit me up right now inside the comment box. Yes or no, did you like the gadget plays? I didn't. Not when you're up 30-7, 28-0. Like, you don't need to bust out the gadget plays. The gadget plays to me are like, I don't know. It's late in the game. You need something spicy, you need some momentum. Alabama had all the momentum in the world. I think those gadget plays actually impacted the game in a negative way. So Kendrick Law, we'll try to provide an update. Kerry, I see your comments inside the comment box. Thank you so much for being with us during game day. I appreciate it. I don't know what the injury is. I don't know if it's serious. I'm asking everybody right now about the gadget plays, yes or no. I didn't like it. Justin Jefferson, I don't know what the injury is there. So I don't know if these are serious or not. I mean, sometimes when they're more serious, we hear about them faster. Haven't heard about that. Tim Keenan, again, I have no idea what the injuries are to these guys other than the fact that Kendrick Law has a lower leg. So this board is something that we track every single day is the injury report. So as news comes in, we'll update this and bring it to you guys as the news comes in. But I don't know any type of, injury news and how it impacts these guys. And I'm hoping because, man, you know what? I don't know if we're getting like injury news faster, but it seems like Alabama's probably had almost 20 guys have some sort of an injury that is somewhat noteworthy this year. And these guys have been getting healthy within like a week or two. And I think that's credit to the coaching staff. And plus, these guys are not like you or I, right? Like we get hurt, we're out for a while. These guys have world-class facilities that they can go back and train in. And Jeff Allen does such a great job getting these guys up to speed. So when we have an updated injury report, we will bring that to you right here on Bama Football on YouTube. But in terms of like the exact detail, we don't know at this point in time. Alabama will head to Vegas this weekend. Who's going to Nashville? Is anyone going to this game to watch Alabama and Vanderbilt? Let me know who is going to this game. this weekend for Alabama and Vandy. This is from North Alabama Storm Chase. He's become – I've started doing the weather. I love doing the weather. Covering the hurricane, and pause right here. If you are impacted by the hurricane, let us know how we can help you. Thoughts and prayers out to everybody that was impacted, especially our friends out in Asheville. My goodness, I saw a house floating away. I heard Buckhead out in Atlanta that they were underwater. So thoughts and prayers to everybody that was impacted. But here's a look at the weekend forecast. And, of course, we'll keep you updated as we move closer to game time. But it looks like it's going to be a fantastic day in Nashville, starting at the tailgate with the kickoff at 3:15. You got a temperature of 72 that feels like 74. And this is one of those games, man, that is just all crimson, right? It's like everybody – like I've never seen this before at a college football venue. It is all Crimson Tide football fans. $9.99 super chat in from Doug. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Starting to get converted on Milroe. Man, enjoy the ride. This guy is absolutely unbelievable. We'll talk about him more in a little bit. The game time, look at this. It's going to be kind of hot. 79, but it feels like 82. It's just a perfect day for football. And for the fourth quarter, 6 p.m., it will be around that point in time, it'll be 62 degrees. So, man, can't wait to see this game this weekend. Alabama favored by 24 points against Vanderbilt. We got 250 up in the house. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. We're going to talk about the top 25, which was updated yesterday on the AP. Here's a look at the 1 through 25. I'll run through it real fast. You got Alabama, who moved to the number 1 spot after beating Georgia by a score of 41-34. You got Texas, who slid to number 2 after beating Mississippi State 35-13. Now, it's important to notate about Texas. They've been without Quinn Ewers, their starting quarterback, for the last 2 weeks because he has an abdominal strain. And I know they're giving Arch Manning some opportunity, but that is clearly, like, in my top 10, I still have Texas as the number 1 team. And I'll explain why when we start to talk about, my top 10. I just think it's better to have the target on somebody else rather than on you just after 5 weeks of play. You have Ohio State, who beat Michigan State 38-7. That's a very dangerous team, 100%. They just don't play a really strong schedule, the Buckeyes, in my opinion. Tennessee, I have some questions about Tennessee that I'm about to ask you just in a few minutes. How good do you think that this Tennessee team is? I don't know at this point in time. Georgia beaten by Alabama, but came back and played really impressive in that second half to be able to retake the lead before losing to Alabama. Oregon, I have no idea about this team, 34-13 against UCLA. Same thing against Penn State. I don't know about them. Miami, look, that was a crazy ending to that game. Everybody saw kind of the Hail Mary, how that game ended. Cam Ward, look, that guy, he balled out in that game. The last, 3 drives, he went crazy. That was super impressive. Missouri, look, they went into overtime with Vanderbilt. No disrespect to Vanderbilt. I got a lot of respect for Diego Pavia. I've talked about him many, many times, but Vanderbilt could have took that game into another overtime, but they missed a field goal. Alabama and Missouri will play here in a couple weeks. Michigan beat Minnesota. Now, Michigan's key win is against USC, but I don't know how good that Michigan team just doesn't feel like the Michigan of the past. Plus, they got beat by Texas. That's their only loss this season. USC beat Wisconsin by a score of 38-21. That is now a conference game. Ole Miss, that was surprising, right? Look, Kentucky is not in the top 25, but Kentucky has just played, I guess Ole Miss was a former top 10 team where they were like 5 or 6 or whatever. Is Kentucky better than Missouri? Is Kentucky better than, I don't know, some of these teams on the left? I don't know, right? It seems like Kentucky's, maybe they've kind of found their stride because to play Georgia, they should have beat Georgia, actually. Georgia should have lost 2 games in a row. All right, you got Notre Dame, who moved to number 14 after beating Louisville. You got Clemson, who beat Stanford, Iowa, BYU, Utah, Oklahoma. There's kind of the rest. How it looks. Number 22, that should read Louisville. So here's my top 10. And look, these are my questions for you, kind of looking at the top 10 of college football. I think it's easy to talk about the first 5 teams in college football. I think there's a really big gap after that. And I still have Ole Miss in my top 10. I don't know how to rank the teams after Tennessee. And I don't even know if Tennessee should really be in the top 5 at this point in time. I had a chance to watch them against Oklahoma. I was impressed. Their quarterback is great. And look, Tennessee, they seem to be trending on the right track, but are they really a top 5 team? I don't know. Let me ask you, like, overall, do you feel, and I get it, they probably deserve to be there, but do you think they are a top 5 team? Do you think Tennessee is a top 5 team in the country? Please answer yes or no. I don't. Eric is saying yes. Maybe you guys can help me out. Because I watch them, and I do have respect. It will be a challenge going to Rocky Top. I mean, the last time that Alabama was there, they lost. And the last time they lost, Heupel was the coach. Alex Golish, who's now the head football coach at South Florida, he was the OC, right? See, Ben, I'm kind of with you, man. Like, they really haven't proven anything to me, but a lot of people kind of split on this. Yeah, see, I'm kind of feeling what you guys are. I don't know if they're a top 5 team. Here's my top 10. Texas, with Quinn still out, I still have them at the number 1 spot. Next up, they got Oklahoma, Georgia, Vanderbilt, and Florida, right? You have Alabama next. I have them at number 2. And the thing with Alabama is, like, it was a dominating first half of play. But the second half, I guess the third quarter, I guess you give credit to Kirby Smart. But it seems like the direction of the offensive play calling in the second half of that game was off-kiltered. It was a really straight. Plus, there was some really weird penalties in that third quarter, right? Now, push come to shove, Alabama turned it on and wins the game. Milroe's going absolutely crazy this year. We're going to talk about the Heisman next. But like Quincy's saying inside the comment box, like, I don't know, maybe I call me crazy, but I kind of felt like putting Kentucky somewhere in here. I mean, it's not always about the overall record. Maybe the team just kind of woke up and found themselves. I mean, they should have beat Georgia and they should have beat Ole Miss, right? Eric, I think that about Texas too. Is like Texas hasn't beaten anyone. I mean, they did beat Michigan on the road. And this is not the same Michigan, clearly. We've seen Michigan play, right? But I do think when Quinn is in there, they move the ball very efficiently. They have wide receivers. They have these running backs. They play really good defense as well. And plus, I like to keep the target on somebody else's back. Maybe Alabama puts this in the locker room as kind of reverse poison. You never want to be like number 1 like this early. But, not a lot of people had Alabama number 1 in the preseason, to my surprise, right? This is crazy. So you basically have Alabama's basketball team. They'll be the preseason number 1 or already are. And then you have Alabama's football team in, week 5 as the number 1 team. Crazy. Ohio State, they got a really big offense. Coming up next, they got Iowa, Oregon, Nebraska, Penn State. I guess Oregon and Penn State are top 10 teams, but I think their schedule is very easy. They do have a very explosive offense, 1,000,000%. Those running backs, they have a talented wide receiver who's a freshman as well. A lot of people really like his game. He's a little bit bigger than Ryan Williams. Georgia, I mean, that's a great football team. And the thing about Georgia, too, is they were missing Tate Ratledge. They were missing a few guys. I don't think the injuries would have made a difference in that game. But home field does, for sure. I mean, you come to Bryant-Denny Stadium, that stadium, it's kind of known for not being – because the fans are accustomed to greatness, right? You kind of just buzzsaw over everybody. A game like that becomes the most challenging environment to play at, Bryant-Denny Stadium in the evening time. 1,000,000%. Ask anybody that went to the game. It's crazy. For Georgia to come back in that game, I have a lot of credit for, I have a lot of respect for those guys. They could have just cashed it in. They didn't. Miami, I mean, they should have lost to VTech, right? They have Cal coming up, Louisville, Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech. Hey, Gavin, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. 279 on. That's what's up. I appreciate you guys. Michigan doesn't feel the same. Their only losses to Texas. They got Washington, Illinois, Michigan State, Oregon. You know, like, and then Oregon, I do not know. After 5, I don't know. Like, Oregon, let me ask you this. Do you feel that Oregon is a top 5 team? Yes or no? I'm going to say no. The first 2 games that they played were against teams from Idaho, and they barely won those games. Glenn, what's up? He's saying Miami got an easy schedule. 100%. Do you think that Oregon is a top 5 team? Yes or no? I'm going to say no. See, no. Okay. Todd, Jarvis. Drownham Todd says no. Glenn's like, I don't know why, but I just don't like Miami and never have. You know, I haven't really had Miami on the radar, but I have as of late because I'm watching them. I watched them play against South Florida. I think we all did. I've been watching their quarterback. Their quarterback's he's great, right? And we all know Mario Cristobal because he's from the Nick Saban ecosystem. I just look in Virginia Tech, they did play, but they did play good. I didn't realize that they had 21 returning starters from last season. That is impressive. Chris is saying that ACC always soft, so I agree with that 1,000,000%. And then Ole Miss, I don't know. Are they a top 5 team or a top 10 team? I don't know. I mean, they hadn't played anybody. So, Ryan, thanks, man. No, I've been loading up on the hats. That was one of the things. I was like, look, I'm blown away with the hats this year. This hat is. And so this hat is from the student store as well, and this is the most comfortable hat. You could wear this to bed, right? I'm serious. This thing is comfortable. And then Missouri, I don't know. The last 2 wins that they have are against Boston College. They barely won that game by 6 points, and then against Vanderbilt, they won in overtime by 3 points. I don't know. JS Webb, I put Texas above Bama because I want the target on somebody else's back. So that I'm giving them some reverse rat poison, because rat poison is when you're at the top and you start buying into everything, right? We are the best. We are number 1. That's the worst thing that could happen to you. You want to keep everything like you keep working, you keep climbing, right? Keep getting hungry. Shane, what's up, man? Kyle, been here a minute. My house was lit up at Iowa Saturday night. That was a great game, classic from Southern Georgia, and growing up a Bama man. These Hawkeye fans here just don't understand. Shane, I went to school in Pella, Iowa. So I don't know where you are in Iowa, but I used to live in Iowa. And there for a minute, I dated a woman from that played for the Iowa basketball team. She's actually one of the top 3-point performers of all time. So I lived in Pella, it was just too cold for me. I couldn't do it. It was just, I love the Midwest, but man, I'm not feeling the cold. All right, Waylon. Yeah, you ever been to Wartburg, Cole, Simpson, Waterloo? All right, here's a look at the SEC football standings. And how this reads now is, and I'm going to say this the rest of the way, because a lot of people, they don't follow it every single day like we do. But number 1 will play number 2 for the SEC championship this year, and it will be decided by your overall conference record. So currently, that's why Texas A&M on this particular graphic, and this is just basically a screenshot from the SEC football website. So you have Texas A&M. They've played 2 conference games, and they are 2-0. Alabama has played 1. So, and then it's listed, I think, alphabetically, right? So you have Alabama, LSU, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, and then Arkansas, Florida, Georgia. Those teams are 1-1 right now. I mean, but you look at Kentucky, man, Kentucky, they're only 3-2 on the season, but maybe they're playing their best football right now at this point in time. I don't know. The SEC just the top to bottom. Whew. Speaking of who's at the bottom, man, Auburn. Look, there were 100 recruits at this past weekend's game between Alabama and Georgia, right? All eyes were on that game. I don't even know. Does anybody know what the TV ratings were on that game? Auburn and or Alabama and Georgia? Was it like 11 million or something like that? Before that game took place, Auburn was beating Oklahoma. Pretty much had the game wrapped up. We were watching the game together when it started, right? Kind of in the back end. 2 turnovers, and Oklahoma takes the lead of the game and hangs on to beat Auburn. Like, man, that can you imagine being a recruit that had committed to Auburn and you're watching every single thing go on at Alabama? Man, I can't even imagine what's about to happen for Alabama on the recruiting trail. And even for basketball, can you imagine if they get, Dinasta, the number 1 player in the entire country? Nate Oates had him. He was walking around with him at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Bama Mikey in that with a super chat for $5, man. I appreciate it. Hope, Piss, or Misery is a top 10 team. Just saying. But Auburn, man, they are just completely diving into the dirt. And guess who they play next? Georgia. Last year, Auburn gave Georgia, Gavin is saying 9. Are you serious? 9-6? Oh, my goodness. I thought it would be 11. Anything over like 5 is impressive. 9, whew. Man. How about I'm gonna talk about this later on my show. How about Kalen Deboer, man? Yo, he's got some fire in the belly. Don't bear hug his wide receivers. Yo, he was pissed. I was loving it. And before that, I saw, it was on, I think Jeremy Bernard was called for a false start on offense. And I saw through the corner of the camera on TV, Jamarcus Shepard got his headset and smashed it into the ground. There's a lot of passion and energy on this coaching staff. Kalen Deboer, man, whew. Yo, and, he's rationally upset. He's just not like an a-hole, right? He's not that. He's a nice, his mood, he can control. A sign of a man, in my opinion, is somebody who has really good control of their emotion, right? His demeanor, like the way that he conducts himself, the guy is like, he's a man, right? He's going to be 50 this year, the prime of his life. But it's okay to be rationally upset about things. And, man, don't mess with this team. And don't mess with Jeremy Bernard. Don't bear hug him, because that guy was, man, he's got the fire. When we were asking, too, because we just haven't seen him. We're used to Coach Saban, right, who's the most fiery competitor there is. But to see Coach KD on the side, it looked like Saban to me, in terms of like the, emotional outcry for one of his players that was getting bear hugged. And that wasn't called a penalty. That was crazy. Alabama, would they have 9 penalties for 90 yards? Man, this coffee's hot. Coming up at 11:30, you got Coach Kane Womack and Nick Sheridan. I'll have that right here on the show. I'll start taking calls at 11 a.m. I got a couple more slides to run through. I appreciate you guys being here. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Here's a look at the Heisman Watch. If you could drop me a thumbs up, comment inside the comment box. Super chats appreciated. Becoming a fan funder is awesome as well. I do all the graphics in-house, so if there's you see an error, let me know. I'll go back and fix it for the next show. I'm definitely not perfect. There's a lot of work and, there's a lot of editing that goes into this, so I appreciate you guys hanging with me. On this particular graphic, you look at the Heisman Watch. So I just put up the 3 favorites right now at this point in time. Jalen Milroe, 964 yards passing, 273 yards rushing. He has 18 total touchdowns and 1 interception. His Pro Football Focus grade is 87.1. He's plus 175 to win the Heisman Trophy. Think about this. Before the season, It was a plus 1,400. Now it's a plus. People don't know. I've been telling people, go back and look at all the receipts that I have. And you guys have seen it too. You guys have been pulling for this dude. Man, for the people showing up late to the train, man, there's still room for you, I promise. Cam Ward. Yo, check this out. The guy has 1,700 yards passing, 146 yards rushing. He has 20 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Now, he did throw 2 interceptions against Virginia Tech, but if anybody, whoever watched that game against Virginia Tech, the way that he played in the later part of that game, was impressive. Guy's an absolute baller. So he's at plus 500, and his Pro Football Focus grade is 92.6. Travis Hunter, I mean, who doesn't like one of these type of players, right? Like the two-way type player. The guy's played in over, I think, 600 snaps. To give you reference to that, like Jalen Milroe through 4 games, I'll bring it up. I don't have the exact total. It's like 300 and some snaps. Yo, Travis Hunter has played in double that, right? Because he plays every single play, both ways, special teams, everything. He has 46 receptions this season, 561 yards. Think about this. He has more receiving yards than Ryan Williams at this point in time, right? He has 16 tackles, 2 interceptions, and his Pro Football Focus grade on defense is 84.6, and his Pro Football Focus grade on offense is close to 80 as well. So, like... this guy's he is the truth 100%. D Harsh, what's up, man? I see you inside the comment box. And the young man from Boise State, I think he's next on the list. I think he's like plus 900 or something like that. But Travis Hunter balling out I was talking about this with my son. What NFL team fits Jalen? Look, the Raiders need a quarterback. Okay. They need a quarterback bad. You know who else needs a quarterback? The New England Patriots. The New England Patriots need a quarterback really, really bad. It would be a travesty if he gets put on a team that he doesn't have talent around him. For example, like what happened to Bryce at Carolina? Man, they haven't done a good job building around him. And that's why you see the things that are happening to Bryce. I mean, Bryce got benched. Yeah, because of his play, but also, like, who's he going to throw it to? He has no offensive line. Jalen Milroe goes to the Raiders. At least he has some playmakers around him. And, if he goes to New England, New England's going to start, they're going to find themselves. The Dolphins, man, you put him over there with Cheetah, Waddle, that's scary. Jalen to Miami is terrifying. All those playmakers in the backfield. Good question from him. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that, man. All right. We looked at the stats in this particular game kind of side by side. We know that Milroe against Georgia, 300. Look at these numbers. 374 yards passing, 117 yards rushing. Ryan Williams, 177 yards receiving. D. Lawson and Deontay had 10 tackles. Damani Jackson had 7 tackles. Carson Beck almost posts up 400, almost 500 yards. Marcus, what's up, man? I see you. Sammy Watson to Miami. Yo, that just scared me. I'm like, oh, man. Aaron Smith caught for 132 yards against the Crimson Tide. Here's a look at Alabama's next 5 games. You got Vanderbilt, which is coming up this weekend. Alabama, a 24-point favorite in this game in Nash Vegas. Then you got South Carolina. And that's going to be an interesting game. I'm curious to see about these games. And the number one thing you can't do right now if you're Alabama is start kind of believing the number one rankings, right? You got to understand, like, this is a long season. There's a lot of football to play. You got to keep getting better from that game. I would imagine that they meet Georgia again. I don't know if it'll be in the SEC championship game, but maybe in the playoffs, maybe for the national title. I've been saying this all along. There's a scenario where these two teams could play 3 different times. And you're like, what? Well, yeah, let's say Georgia somehow gets to the SEC championship. So does Alabama. Well, they'd play again. Those two teams would make the playoffs, clearly. They get put on opposite sides of the 12-team bracket. They play again. That'd be 3 times. In my opinion, I think Texas and Alabama will play in the SEC championship game. We'll see. I mean, Georgia and Texas play here in a couple weeks. There's so much football. Don't buy into any of this, that the 24-point spread or whatever. Like, stay focused, stay hungry. This back end of the schedule is wild, right? So you got Vandy, then you got South Carolina on the road in Knoxville in a game that I would imagine College game days up in Rocky Top again, right? Missouri, who's a top 10 team at this point in time. Then you're open again. You have 2 weeks to prepare for a trip to Death Valley. Now, the thing about Coach Kalen Deboer, while he's done all these amazing things, he has not coached on the road in the SEC. Coming up Vanderbilt, but let's face it, it's different from Vanderbilt to Neyland Stadium or to Death Valley. Those are different environments. The last 2 times that Alabama was at Tennessee and LSU, they lost those games with Coach Saban. So that's what I'm saying. Like, stay focused, stay hungry, stay starving. We beat Georgia. I don't remember that game. Like, I'm focused on Vanderbilt. I'm focused. Couple slides to run through, and then I'll go to the stats and the snap counts, and then I'll take your calls. Coach Kalen Deboer versus top 10. As a head football coach, Kalen Deboer is now 13-2 against ranked opponents. That mark includes a 5-1 record against teams ranked in top 10 matchups. Man, like I said, Coach Kalen Deboer in the prime of his life, man, like 49 years old, about to be 50 here in October. And Reese Davis said this before this season, that this isn't his first rodeo. Like, he's played in big-time games. And he said this that I thought was funny. He's like, SEC fans are going to want to hear this, but the game between Washington and Oregon had a big-time feel. Like, I'm like, that I didn't believe that. I was like, man, that there's a different feel from that game to Alabama and Georgia, I promise you. That'd be interesting to ask Coach Kalen Deboer. He'd probably play it off. But, I don't know what that felt like when he was running onto the field against Georgia. Like, this is a whole different level. And he's built for it. He's ready for it. Yo, Jalen Milroe. This is crazy. Milroe's 374 passing yards stands as a new career best, surpassing his previous high of 321 yards set on October 7th last year against Texas A&M. That's when you remember when Jermaine Burton went crazy? That's weird. I never thought about it, but kind of sounds the same. Jermaine Bernard, right? But Burton went crazy, and Jalen Milroe. Man, it was crazy. I was like, oh, my goodness. When he was 11 for 11, I was like, and he finished out the game. It's not like he got less accurate. Big offense this season by the Crimson Tide, right? Milroe's 117 rushing yards becomes a season high and are the most in a single game since November 11th, 2023 versus LSU. That was his best game ever on a national stage, spotlight, right? Can't stop Jalen Milroe. You can try to contain him, but good luck stopping him. This season, Jalen Milroe has 964 yards passing and has rushed for 273 yards, which is a total of 1,237 yards. He is also counted for 18 touchdowns. 18 touchdowns in 4 games. Okay. Somebody was saying this yesterday. Look, they were like, if you were inside the comment box, if they asked how many times, like how old he was, you would have to take a shot. Right? Or mention the word like 17, the number 17. This is crazy. All right. Williams, 462 receiving yards, leads all freshman wideouts, while his 5 receiving touchdowns share the National League among rookie players. So inside the comment box, I'm always reading your guys' comments, always. And somebody said this, okay? Look, I never seen David Palmer's highlights. I watched them this morning. I don't know if it's an exact connection because Ryan Williams is a blend of a lot of Alabama greats. Now, he's taller and he's thinner than Palmer, but in terms of like that playmaking ability, yeah, I could see some of the Palmer. Plus, he wore the same number, right? The deuce. That guy, how many punt returns did he return? His whole highlight tape was nothing but him returning punts. He even played some quarterback. He even played some wide receiver, right? The deuce, right? Man. So I think he was like 5'8". He was out of Birmingham too, right? Or is. His highlights were very impressive. Think about the shoulder pads back then that we wore compared to now. Anyways, I mean, and I said this, and I say it again. I think that he is the best wide receiver in college football. That is a big statement to say. I've seen what I've seen. I've seen it. The play against Georgia, the bobble, that was wild. But when it was crunch time, when the guy goes off, man, 75 yards, touchdown, makes the guys hug each other. That was one of the dopest plays I've ever seen. Eric D saying Ryan Williams is more like a Devontae Smith or a Jerry Jeudy. Yeah, they kind of have that similar build, but he's got good takeoff speed. He's got good body control. Derek is saying, please take him off punt return. I think the only time that you have him on punt return is for like big plays, big game situations, like maybe in the fourth quarter if the game's tied up or something like that. But other than that, I would like to see maybe, you know what? Look, as much as I like Cole Adams to be able to return punts and getting him on the field, I would probably put Jalen Mbakwe back there because I want somebody who has a little bit more speed. I know Cole has some good shake to him, but I don't know that one punt return that I saw with Jalen Mbakwe, I was feeling that. It felt good. You know, you could just see it, but you know, if the game's on the line, I'm putting Ryan Williams back there still. He's Velcro. He's a playmaker. He's got it in him. That's it. And I was reading the same things. I saw that his eye black said kill everybody. That's from the program. Have you guys seen the program? Right? He's 17 years old. And then he changed his profile on Instagram to Mike Vick. Yo, the guy's built different. What I don't hope is that, or what I hope is that people don't start trying to control him and like change him. Mentor him, right? He's 17 years old. Everybody needs mentorship, no matter where you are in your life. But like, don't try to like start controlling because like that guy like has it. That's it. With 41 points on Saturday, Alabama has recorded 40-plus points in their first 4 games of the season, the first time the Tide has done so since 2019. The third down defense, I love this. This is my favorite side to talk about every single week. What's up, Run the Table Sports? I see you inside the comment box, man. The Tide defense held Georgia to 3 and 15 on third down conversions, as Alabama has allowed just 11 third down conversions in 64 attempts, which is 17%. What was crazy though is that Georgia was 5 of 5 on fourth downs. Now they were playing in comeback mode. They had to get those fourth downs or the game's over, right? But still, like statistically, that stat, you pair that up with Alabama's big playability, you win as many games as there is, in my opinion. Third down is critical. But fourth down, 5 of 5? I never seen that against Alabama before. So you're like, that's great, but 5 of 5 is the worst that can happen. Alabama forced 3 interceptions in this game against Georgia. The Alabama defense forced Carson Beck to throw 3 interceptions on the night. Damani Jackson recorded his first interception. Jahad Campbell, he's so athletic, right? And then Xavier Brown, with the interception, which was the game winner. How about number 2 and number 2 coming up on offense and defense, right? What have you guys thought about Damani Jackson? I think Damani Jackson's really good. Now, the secondary, I don't know. I feel like there were some times that Georgia made some big plays on him. Then again, it's Georgia. Then again, it's Carson Beck. There were some times that Alabama made some good plays on Georgia. Like in the snap counts, what I did, and I'm going to show you that in a second, I show you kind of the list of how many times the defensive backs have been targeted and how many times they've allowed receptions. To my surprise, Keon Sabb has allowed a lot of receptions when he's been attacked. He didn't have the highest Pro Football Focus grade against Georgia. Right? So, the secondary, I think they're good, but I think Georgia's passing game was good, and they had a plan in that second half. I would like to talk to a coach about that, because kind of the secondary, or maybe we can have some, back and forth about Alabama's secondary. I don't know. I like them, but Georgia did, hit some big plays on them. And that was like an NFL type game, though. So here are my, before I get to the snap counts, then I'll take your guys' calls here in a little bit. Here's what I added, just kind of upon further review, some things that stood out to me for this game. All right. I love this first stat up top. The two top are like phenomenal. 11 different wide receivers caught passes from Jalen Milroe. That's great. Tight ends got fed. Everyone from Josh Cuevas, Robbie Oots, CJ Dupree, Emmanuel Henderson, Kobe Prentice, Jam Miller caught a touchdown, right? Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams. I'm missing Kendrick Law, right? I'm probably missing somebody else. And how about this? 0 quarterback sacks allowed. Now, there was a couple times where Georgia had some pressure. There was a time where Jalen Milroe ducked out and kind of ran up for a first down or whatever. But still, 0 quarterback sacks. That's great. Caden Proctor, against pressure, he graded out like 76.2 or something like that. He's been doing great. And you've seen Alabama's offensive line take steps forward since Caden Proctor's returned, right? Let me ask you this, yes or no? Since Caden Proctor's return against Wisconsin, has this offensive line looked much better? Yes, I think that's easy. Bama Mike in with a $2 super chat. Second time Bama used 2 freshmen to beat Georgia. Dude, oh my, you're right. Tua to Smitty and Xavier and Ryan Williams. It's crazy. And yes, I saw somebody ask me if I saw that on the clock. It was 2 minutes and 26 seconds. And someone asked if I saw Josh Pate's legal terrorism. Yeah, I watched it. It was hilarious. I was dying laughing. It made perfect sense. The thing that he caught that I didn't catch at the end was that he hit the dirty bird. Yo, that was, man, that was crazy. Skylar Cook, what's up, man? I see you inside the comment box. All right. I spoke about this a little bit earlier in my show. I don't understand the gadget plays when you're up 30-7 or 28-0, whatever it was. I have to go back and rewatch when they started doing the gadget plays. To me, I remember three gadget plays that I was like, what the hell are these? So the first one was they threw it to Kendrick Law, and it looked like Kendrick Law was going to throw the ball downfield, right? You saw this. I think it was the play where he got hurt. The second one, which I thought was okay, it was like Alabama had to pick up a first down, and Jalen Milroe just kind of like walks off, and they direct snapped it to Jam Miller, right? That was the second one. And then the third one, which was like a playoff Tecmo Bowl, was a double reverse pass, right? So you had one receiver come, another receiver get it, and he pitched it back to Jalen Milroe, right? I mean, double reverse pass. Like, why are you doing this? Like, that was really, don't do that. Maybe the direct snap, okay, let's roll with that. And maybe if you're losing or the game's tight, maybe the play to Kendrick Law. But like the double reverse pass is like for like lower level type teams, in my opinion. I don't know. I didn't like that. And more specifically, like the timing of them. Like, you don't need to do that. 10 penalties for 90 yards. There's some stat out there. You could look it up yourself. Maybe I'll build a graphic on it. But it shows that Kalen Deboer's teams, while they've been really successful, they've had a lot of penalties. I don't know if that's going to be a theme this year. They didn't have a lot of penalties against Wisconsin. The penalties went down. But against Western Kentucky, South Florida, and this game against Georgia, they had a lot of penalties. Some of the penalties you can go back and forth on, like Tyler Booker pushing that dude down. I don't know why that was called a personal foul. The play was still going, and he like just kind of shoved this dude. What was weird was on Georgia, because Georgia was called for a good amount of penalties as well. But they were called for 3 pass interference calls on the offense. They should have been called for 1 for sure on the defense. Just weird penalties, right? Okay, here's a yes or no question. Are there kicking concerns with Graham Nicholson, the kicker? I'm going to say yes. I'm just, not that I'm like super concerned about it. He missed one from 46 against Wisconsin. And this one that he kicked from 26, it barely went in. Like on the TV replay, it almost hit the pylon. He could have been 0-2. Sarah's saying no. It's still early. The guy's only kicked 2 field goals. So, I mean, maybe we wait. North Alabama Storm Chase is saying no. Okay. Too early. See, Byron, too early to tell. All right. Kicker just in question. PAT-wise, he's been solid, though, right? Do you feel confident he could kick a game winner at LSU from 48 yards? That's what I'm talking about. I would say no in that case. That would be stressing me out. Now, with Will Reichard, yeah, send him out. Feeling good. But a lot of people still have good confidence, which, yeah, I'm not surprised to see it. It's been 2 kicks. I maybe have PTSD from Andy Papanastis and Joseph Bolivas. I need to, yeah. All right. As I mentioned, Georgia was 5 of 5 on fourth downs. They were playing, they had to play in turbo mode. But that is something that definitely stands out on the stat sheet. But, hey, back was against the wall. They were fighting. We know, like, if we learned anything about Georgia, they could fight. And Carson Beck, they fought. So maybe that's fourth down. UGA outscored Alabama 27-11 in the second half. I had a call-in show in the morning yesterday just to kind of rehash some stuff. And Coach from Calera called in, and he said that Georgia was playing more aggressive in the second half, and they made some adjustments, which basically stopped Alabama's high potent offense. He also mentioned that there was some, penalties called that moved the change for Georgia, which I thought those were good points when I thought about it. It just, the third quarter, maybe that was it, but it just felt like it was like a different vibe, right? Like everything about that third quarter, even there were 3 things in my opinion that went well in the fourth quarter, or in the second half. That's it. Seriously, only 3. One was the sack by Deontay Lawson. One was the touchdown from Milroe to Ryan Williams, and the third was Xavier Brown's interception. Other than that, it was a really weird second half. Great question, Ricky. Will Georgia lose another game? They do go to Ole Miss on the road, and they do go to Texas on the road. Great question. Bama 205. We don't have an update on Kendrick Law as of yet. Coach Kalen Deboer will be at the podium at 12 p.m. I'm sure he'll be asked about the status of Kendrick Law. We're also tracking Tim Keenan and Justin Jefferson and Devontae Smith, who I think just has cramps, but we don't know too much about any of the injuries. Beck threw for 439 yards and 3 touchdowns, also threw 3 interceptions. And we talked about, Coach Kalen Deboer having that fire in the belly, right? All right, let me run through the snap counts real quick, and then I will take your guys' call. So you guys, if you guys already know the call-in line number, you guys can call. I'll put it on in just a minute. Let me get this up, and then we'll look at the snap counts. They're good to see because the snap counts, what I do also is I add in the overall statistics and the Pro Football Focus grade. So I'm going to show you that right now. All right, so when you look to the Alabama quarterback room, and anything that has a font in green means it's exceptional from a player grade. Okay, so let's start with Jalen Milroe, right? 965 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 273 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns, 226 snaps. And he has a grade right now, Pro Football Focus, of 87.1. There's the rest of the quarterback room. Ty's seen opportunities this year in a few games, right? He has 96 passing yards this season. You know, the interesting, and I know he hasn't had a lot of opportunities, but Ty Simpson has not thrown a touchdown pass yet at Alabama. But we've seen him. You know, we saw him against Wisconsin. I thought he looked really good. Saw him against Kentucky last year. Saw him earlier in the season, too, against Western Kentucky. Still have not seen Austin Mack this season. Here's a snapshot of Jalen Milroe. This is a lot to take in, a lot of numbers on this page. But as you can see, I mean, look at that game against Georgia. And there was a lot of people saying, well, maybe we haven't seen Alabama's entire offense yet. Maybe we hadn't. Because if you look to this, you're like, man, this was light work against Western Kentucky, against South Florida, Wisconsin. Look, those are like NFL type numbers. 27 to 33, 374 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, that is wild. This graphic to me, I think tells you a ton. Man, 1,200 yards and 18 touchdowns. Oof, pretty impressive. Here's a look at the Alabama running back room. And I'm going to show you a graphic next. I'm going to ask you about the Alabama running backs. But Jam Miller has 34 attempts for 273 yards, which is the exact same amount of rushing yards that Jalen Milroe has. He has 3 touchdowns on the season, and his grade is 77.7, right? Still averaging 8.0 per carry. Justice Haynes, really haven't seen too much of him in the last 2 games, to be honest. I mean, we did see him play, of course, but just not getting the football. Neither of these guys, I mean, comparatively are, because I'm going to show you in just a second that Jalen Milroe is getting the carries. He has 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's averaging 8.8 yards a game as well. Didn't see any of the other 3 running backs in this game. Good to see Richard Young back in action, right? Now, these are the rushing attempts in the last 2 games for Alabama. You have Jalen Milroe, who has 30 carries for 192 yards and 4 touchdowns. Jam has 14 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. And Justice Haynes has 8 carries for 52 yards and no scores. Jam and Justice rush for 43 yards against Georgia. Milroe is currently, you know, I mean, look, Kirby Smart said this after the game. He said that Jalen Milroe would be the best running back in college football if he was a running back. So let me ask you this. Would you like to see the running backs more involved, or do you feel that the offense is just running fine as it is with Jalen Milroe just doing his job? I mean, he's the best player in college football. You know, wear and tear has never really been a thing with this guy. I mean, think about this. He was sacked, 44 times last year. The guy is, I mean, a well-proportioned individual. He's 235 pounds. I mean, you have the best player in all of college football getting the football as many times as possible. I don't really have an issue with it. And I was thinking about that too, Marcus. I think we'll definitely see these guys get more carries against, here in these next couple games. What's up, Charles? I see you inside the comment box as well. Here's the Alabama tight end room, a group that everybody's talking about today, because these guys did see opportunities. Now, we did see C.J. Dupree reel in a couple receptions. I did feel that the interception was because the ball did hit his hands and it bounced off. Georgia made an interception. But C.J. Dupree did look nice. On the season, 6 receptions, 58 yards, right? 147 snaps, plays a ton for Alabama. So does Robbie Oates, who's played in 74 snaps. Josh Cuevas, you know what? Josh Cuevas has a little bit of playmaker in him. He caught that big touchdown against Wisconsin, has 5 receptions for 69 yards, actually leads the tight end room right now, 69 yards in there. C.J. Dupree with 58 yards. Here's the Alabama wide receiver room. I know this is a lot of data points to look at. Let's start on the left with Jeremy Bernard, 13 receptions for 150 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, there's a big difference and he's played in 211 snaps. There's a big difference between him and Ryan Williams, Alabama's #1 wide receiver. 16 receptions, 462, 5 touchdowns, average per game, 115, snaps 174, and his grade is 82.2 as a freshman. That's elite. It's like beyond elite. Kobe Prentice, saw him get a couple of receptions last game. He has 7 for 92 this year. He's played in 79 snaps. Kendrick Laws played in 81 snaps. And as Coach Kalen, Deboer, and Nick Sheridan have highlighted, you see Kendrick Laws pretty much the team's best stock blocker. And I would imagine, depending on the health update, he'll be utilized more throughout the season. But if he's, a downfield blocker, hey, let him do his job. Emmanuel Henderson, I don't know. He played in only 6 snaps, I think, against Georgia. I don't know what happened with him. But he did catch a pass, and then we never really saw much more of him. Didn't see Caleb Odom, Rico Scott, or Bubba Hampton. Did see, I think Cole Adams got a couple snaps. I need to add him to this graphic as well. It's just I'm running out of room because they played so many wide receivers. Ryan Williams this season, this is wild. Like, I love building out this graphic every single week. Look at this for a freshman. 2 receptions for 139 yards in the opener. 2 catches for 2 touchdowns. And then against South Florida, 4 receptions for 68 yards and a touchdown. But the longest was 43. Against Wisconsin, you're like, is he going to cool down? 4 receptions for 78 with a touchdown. And then he goes absolutely crazy. I mean, man, that was crazy. That performance is memorable. Memory burn. I'm going to remember that forever. Here's Alabama's offensive line. Now, Alabama's offensive line, they didn't allow a sack against Georgia. The grades are a little bit lower than I would anticipate, to be honest. Like Caden Proctor, and these are the overall grades. Now, the way that Pro Football Focus distributes their grade, they have a pass blocking grade. Maybe I'll add that instead of their overall grade because it takes into account a bunch of different formulas. So let me look at that because the grades are a little bit lower. I want to show you the truth, but I'm interested to see their pass blocking grades going forward. This is a combined of their run blocking and their pass blocking. So a little bit lower, but we have seen Elijah Pritchett emerge as a starting right tackle over Wilcom Formby. Wilcom Formby did not play in the game against Georgia. You just saw these 5 offensive linemen play with Caden Proctor as your left tackle and Elijah Pritchett as your right tackle. So I think that is, you're clearly your best 5. And I would imagine throughout the season, we see more offensive linemen throughout different situations, different games. But, when it was crunch time, you just saw these linemen. So these are your starting offensive linemen minus Formby. But 0 sacks is remarkable, honestly. And I say remarkable because they had 44 last year, right? Here's Alabama's defensive line. Going to get an update on Tim Keenan. I don't even know what the injury was. So we'll get an update on him. I don't think it's serious by any means, but, who knows? We'll get an update here at 12 p.m. from Coach Kalen Deboer. On the season, he has 18 tackles. He's been playing fantastic this year. He really has. 142 snaps for the big man out of Birmingham. 76 is his grade. Tim Smith has 10 tackles. Jaheim Otis. Jaheim Otis has been pretty quiet this year. I know he was injured last year. He's just been a little bit more quiet than I anticipated. James Smith is not. James Smith is very, very talented. Number 23, he's great. Like, depending on what happens, if Tim Keenan comes back and James Smith, James Smith is fantastic. And Damon Payne, he's played in 82 snaps. Here's the bandit position for Alabama. Still, Keon Keeley was asked about by Freddie Roach recently and said that they're still working with him. So that's kind of the update on him. Jamarian Lathan, he has 8 tackles this season, but it's really been the play of LT Overton that has been really impressive. He's played in 162 snaps. He has 13 tackles, 4 quarterback hurries, and a quarterback sack, which was against Wisconsin. And then Jordan Renard, we saw him earlier in the season. But LT Overton, he's an absolute beast. And then the Wolf position looks like this. Q-Rob with a grade of 86.7, which is among the highest on the defense. I think it might be the highest right now. He has 12 tackles, I think he has 3.5 sacks. He was credited for half a sack in this last game, so I need to update that. He's been playing great. He has 108 snaps, and you saw Quay get a quarterback sack against Georgia as well. It was really good to see him back, right? 10 tackles on the season. There's so much depth here. I love this position. This overall position, seriously, this is probably like top to bottom. Even if Noah Carter was to get opportunities, I think he would rise up. He's that talented. But if you look, you could probably have any of these guys start and be fine. I'm serious. Other positions, you'd be a little bit worried. Maybe, these guys have to, how would they do? But overall, wolf. Wolf. But overall, that position is absolutely elite. Even Yanzi Pierre, man, he's really talented. And Keanu Coe, too. Just like you're saying, Max, that is a great position for Alabama. And, once Q-Rob leaves, these next guys, look, redshirt freshman, redshirt junior, redshirt freshman. Here's the Alabama inside linebacker room. Now, I've said this a million different times. The best tandem in college football on the defensive side of the ball is Deontay Lawson and Jahad Campbell. Like, that's it. 32 tackles for Jahad, 31 for Deontay. Deontay now has a sack. Jahad Campbell has an interception. Look how many snaps they've played. Yo, there is a sticker that is 4+2. I think you just have to slide over to the right to get that emoji. Will somebody hit that 4.2? Cool. Thanks, Ebony, for the update. I'll look at the snap counts and add them in. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. But there's a 4+2. You just have to slide into the emojis to the right. Justin Jefferson, we're getting an update on him. Somebody said he was injured as well. I didn't see it. When Coach Kalen Deboer comes, he'll speak about the injuries. I don't know what the status is on him. But these two guys, these are them. This is the meat of the defense. And we finally saw some Alabama pressure through the middle. I knew that Alabama would send some because Tate Ratledge was out for Georgia, and you have a sack for Deontay Lawson, which I thought was a high point of the second half. Justin Okoronkwo, Caden Jones, and then Jeremiah Alexander. He was back on the field after an unknown injury, but he didn't record any snaps. But it's good to see him back out there. Look, this tells you. Byron, so what is 4+2? So I know a lot of people asking about this. So I have a hat that reads 4+2 = 6. So Ryan Williams in the first game, he said 4+2 = 6. Jalen Milroe's 4, he's 2, it = 6. So Alabama football and their marketing department came out with the hat. I have the hat. I was going to wear it today, but it's downstairs. You probably seen it before. You can get it on Athlete's Thread. If you want to support any of the players, go to Athlete's Thread and get the gear. But that's the hat that I have. It looks basically like that. It says 4+2 = 6. But when you look at this graphic, look at this. 18 combined tackles and 9 solos, 16 combined against South Florida, 15 combined against Wisconsin, and 14 combined against Georgia with 1 interception and 1 sack. They're A++, right? And then the Alabama corners this season. So what I did on this graphic, and I think I'm going to go back and update the offensive line with pass protection. But here, so just stay with me. I'll walk you through it. What I did on this graphic was I listed how many times the player has been targeted and how many receptions they've allowed. Okay? So let's start with Damani Jackson on the left. So you have, he's been targeted 13 times, 3 receptions, 1 interception. Xavier Brown, 17, 7, 1 interception. And he's played a lot of snaps. Jalen Mbakwe, 8 targets, 5 receptions. Deshaun Jones, 6 targets, 3 receptions. Okay? A couple more to go through. Malachi Moore, targeted 13 times, allowed 5. Keon Sabb, 16. This was surprising to me. I didn't know this. 16, he's allowed 12 receptions. I don't know how they calculate this for safeties. And then Devontae Smith and Red Morgan on the right of your screen, 17 for 9, and then 11 for 6. Here's the Alabama special teams. You got Graham Nicholson, who was 1 for 2 on the season, longest at 28, 23 of 23 on PATs. And you got James Burnap, who I think is Alabama's secret weapon, right? Who has 20 punts for 915 yards, an average of 43.7. Inside the 20, he has 7 punts inside the 20. Alabama has returned 2 kicks this year. The longest is for 52 from Kendrick Law. And then Cole Adams has returned the most punts out of the 3 punt returners that we've seen for Alabama this year have been Jalen Mbakwe, Ryan Williams, and Cole Adams. But Cole has the most, and he's returned 7 for 42. So, that's kind of the opening. So I'm going to open up the phone lines. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for joining me today on Bama Football on YouTube. You can call in, and then what I'm going to have is at 11:30, I'll go to Nick Sheridan and Coach Kane Womack, and then we'll have Coach Kalen Deboer. I hadn't done that before either. I think Chris Stewart did that, and everyone laughed about it. So we will have him at 12 p.m. So I appreciate you guys being here. Let me open up the phone line, and appreciate you guys rocking with me today right here on Bama Football on YouTube. You can also listen on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, right? Or anywhere, Oh, and we have a very active Facebook page, right? It's just Bama Football on YouTube on Facebook. And it's been very active. So that's kind of like my website. I think that we have 30,000 followers on there, which is pretty dope. All right, 601, let's do it. Hey, good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Good morning, Kyle. It's Jay from Pensacola.
Hey, what's up, Jay? I appreciate you being here, man. Welcome to the show, and take it away, man. Go ahead.
Man, I want to say the game had me excited, anxiety, pissed off. I felt so many different emotions about that game. Overall, I was happy, but I was when they were letting Georgia come back, I felt like they got comfortable after they got such a big start. I just talked to my friend. He said he don't think that they left the gas. He just think the other team came with it.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, I have to agree. Yes, Georgia did change something up. They got more serious. They did more. But I still think Alabama let off the gas, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I kind of agree with your friend. Maybe both of you, because I think Kirby, like one of the points going into this game that Kirby brought up was the fact that their coaching staff has been together for a long time. I know they brought in T-Rob, but Alabama's staff is, this is their first year. So not to say that Georgia's been in blowout games like that before, but they understand, like, they've been together for a long time. And those players on Georgia, they didn't quit. They battled to the last second, which I have a lot of respect for. Any other team, I think, that comes in, the score is probably like 60-7 or whatever, but I don't know. Georgia made some adjustments and really controlled the tempo of that entire second half. So that's good coaching. I mean, Kirby Smart said the right things. People asked him, hey, you're 1-6 against Alabama. He was like, who has a better record than that? Not a lot of people, right? I mean, it's right, Alabama football, so no matter who you are, they're going to come with it. So, hats off to those guys. But, Alabama and their quarterback, Jalen Milroe, right now, I feel they're a buzzsaw. What else you got, Jay?
I just got one more thing. I don't know if you heard what Paul Feinbaum said, but he said this might be blasphemous, but he thinks Alabama looks better under Kalen Deboer than Nick Saban.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that come up, and I was thinking about that. Look, everything is something to think about, and I think what Alabama has right now is they're playing with a mentality that they don't have Saban anymore. So people wrote off Alabama because Coach Saban is now up on the box, up on the TV screen. Was this just Saban? And I think Alabama, the players, they're playing to be like, yo, we still have something to prove. We can win because of the team that we have and the coach that is now in the building leading our program. So I think that, yeah, do they look great? Well, this team was going to look great under Coach Saban, under whoever took over. I just think that Coach Kalen Deboer is, he was the right fit for the job. And who deserves a lot of credit is Greg Byrne. Man, to be able to get him in
Yeah.
and allow Coach Kalen Deboer to work this staff. And Coach Kalen Deboer does things way differently than Coach Saban, which is fine. Do they look completely different under Coach Saban? Probably, but do they look better or worse? I mean, look, Alabama was going to be good regardless, but I think keeping these guys on track is going to be the remainder of the focus, and it's not over. There's a long way to go. There's a long season left before we start talking about that. I appreciate you calling in, though, Jay. Thank you so much, man.
Have a good day, Kyle. Roll Tide.
Yeah, roll tide to you, man. 256, let's do it. Hey, thanks for calling in. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Well, it's Ben Milroe coming in from Huntsville.
Hey, what's up, man? I appreciate you calling in the show, man. Go ahead, man. Welcome on in. Take it away.
I don't really know what to talk about, so how about you give me something to talk about, like maybe the rankings or like the game or just like that.
Do you think that Georgia loses another football game? I mean, somebody asked me that earlier on the show. Is like, and I started thinking about that too. Is like they play Ole Miss on the road, they play Texas on the road. Do you think that Alabama and Georgia will have some sort of a rematch down the road? Go ahead, man.
I think that could easily happen. If they do lose another game, it'd probably be Texas. They're not gonna lose Ole Miss. I mean, they just lost to Kentucky. So if Georgia does lose again, it's either the Texas, maybe even Tennessee. I know that Georgia gets Tennessee at home this year, but hey, I kind of believe in Tennessee this year. I think it's either Texas or Tennessee. I don't think they lose the both though. Georgia's not going to lose 3 games. They're too talented to lose 3 games.
Are you surprised that Alabama's offensive line didn't allow a sack against Georgia?
Nah, I'm not surprised. I expect them to dominate Georgia because the D-line's a little banged up. So I'm not really surprised the O-line dominated.
And is there a cause for concern, or do you think it was just kind of the game plan with the running backs not necessarily being, I wouldn't say not utilized, but when we look to the graphics and you see that Jalen Milroe has had kind of a majority of the carries over the last 2 games, you start to think about, how Alabama is using their running backs. How do you feel about kind of the running back distribution right now with Jalen Milroe kind of leading the way?
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, our running game's been really good with Milroe and with Miller and Haynes. Hey, our offense been cooking this year. Hey, don't fix nothing that ain't broken. So
Love
as long as the offense continues to put up, if the offense continues to put up 40 points, I'm content with it. Right?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like if it's not really broke, why are you kind of adjusting things? So that's why I was kind of going to like those gadget plays. Like I think that slowed down the momentum against Georgia. Like you didn't need to do any of that. And we've talked about that, but I didn't like that. Okay. So kind of going forward, you look at the rest of, the next few games of Alabama's schedule. How you feeling about Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, LSU? Make that your final point. What do you think about those remaining games that we got coming up?
I think the biggest challenge is easily Tennessee. It's Deboer's. I know he's gone on the road to Wisconsin, and I know we're going to Vanderbilt this Saturday. But Tennessee, their atmosphere is just like Bama's. It's not more electric. Deboer's he's in some hostile atmospheres, but I don't think he's ever been in one like Tennessee. So I think it's one of those games we're just have to grind him out. Nico, he's really talented. Tennessee's got a really good defense this year. Dylan Sampson's Tennessee running back, he's really good. It's going to be a really good game considering it's in Neyland. And last time we played in Neyland, we lost. So the mindset we had going to the Wisconsin game, we just need that against Tennessee. LSU, it's LSU. It's going to be tough, especially in Death Valley. But I don't think LSU is going to be as hard as Tennessee because, we're already going to be – when we go to LSU, we're experiencing a tough atmosphere in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then Missouri, I'm not really worried about Missouri. I mean, no disrespect to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt lost to Georgia State, and Missouri should have lost to Vanderbilt. So, and plus it's in Bryant-Denny, so I'm pretty confident we're going to destroy Missouri.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it, man. I look forward to the next call, man. All right.
All right, see you. Roll Tide.
All right, roll Tide to you. All right, 417. Let's dive into it. Hey, thanks for calling. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, this is Timothy. I'm calling in from South Carolina.
Timothy, what's up, man? You okay from the storms? Are you guys like? I know I didn't really hear too much about South Carolina. I heard more about North Carolina, but are you guys doing okay from any of the storm path?
Yeah, South Carolina. So I'm a truck driver. The places I've been were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get hit at all, but I heard North Carolina got hit pretty bad.
Yeah, me too.
There's
We were talking about that earlier in the
that-
show. It's kind of, Asheville looked like it went through a lot. But anyways, man, Timothy, welcome to the show, man. Come with it.
I'm thinking Jalen Milroe joins an elite company because the last quarterback to dice up Georgia for over 370 yards was Mac Jones and Bryce Young. And he also joins the elite company on the rushing side because the two Georgia up running was went for over 170 yards, about 150 yards.
Timothy, you're kind
of what the first caller talked about.
Timothy, you're kind of cutting out, man. Call back again, man, when you have a better connection. Don't hold us against you, man. Timothy, call back later on, man. We'll move to our next call. It's a 3334. Hey, what's going on? You're on line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on line with, and where are you calling in from?
Finally from Opelika.
All right, what's up, man? I appreciate you joining us from Opelika, man. Come with it.
After the 28-0 lead, I believe I saw a shot to the sideline, and a couple of high-profile Alabama players was in deep laughter. I think they may have lost their intensity after the 28-0. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. Like I said earlier, like something happened to where they lost momentum. I don't even know if at the halftime break, maybe they thought the game was over. They were winning 30-7 at the halftime break, and then Kirby goes in and makes some adjustments. I don't know really what to think about that second half, but Georgia didn't quit at all. We know that.
I think the coaches' play calling lost some intensity too. But anyway, you learn from your mistakes. So hopefully they'll keep their foot on that throat next time we play them.
Yeah, right.
For the whole game.
Yeah, I think those two will certainly meet again. Anything else that kind of just like caught your eye when you were looking at this game?
I like the preparation. Alabama was well prepared. I like the defensive play call and the blitzes. There was somebody coming free, untouched. I like it. Maybe they shouldn't have stopped that either.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you calling in from Opelika, man. Thanks for calling in, man. Roll Tide to you. All right, 903, you are up next. Let's do it.
Hey,
what's going on? Yeah, what's up, man? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
This is Quincy from Texas.
Quincy, what's up, man? I appreciate you calling in from the Lone Star State. We go from Opelika to Texas, man. Come with it, man. Appreciate it, Quincy.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide to you, man.
Roll Tide. Well, hey, I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Great win, first of all. Great win. Sitting in those stands, it was loud and crazy. I mean, man, it was straight. I mean, it was crazy. But I don't play devil's advocate here. So, Georgia had 4 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up about, 3 or 4 sacks?
Mm-hmm.
You know how many sacks they gave up?
I think Alabama had 3 sacks. Go ahead.
3 sacks. Okay. That's not good, man. You gave up 4 turnovers, 3 sacks, and you still take the lead in the game?
Mm-hmm.
That's not good at all. That's not good at all. To me, that's a sign of something, man, with our defense. And our cornerbacks, when you play elite wide receivers, I worry about that, man. I really do. And another thing is, why, for the life of me, I'm not understanding why are we not running our running backs. They're getting put in the game to block for Milroe to run the ball.
Mm.
That don't make sense. You have two of the best running backs in college football, and yet instead they're getting put in the game to block for them to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That don't make sense. You run the ball with your back. I know, it's working right now. Oh, it's good right now. But you have to understand, when he goes to that next level, he's not going to be able to do that all the time. He's not. And I think they're doing him a disservice. Work on passing the ball. That's what he needs to work on. Passing the ball. Let your running backs run the ball. Because you know what? If I'm a running back recruit and I'm watching this, I'm like, wait a minute. He got more touches than the running backs combined. That's a problem, man. That's a major problem for me. For me. Maybe for other people, we won. Yeah, you did win, but you still need to run your running backs. And I'm thinking Georgia's going to lose to Texas. Because with Quinn Ewers as quarterback, man, that Texas offense looks tough. I mean, them guys look tough down there. And they defense, they fast. That guy, Colin Simmons, the freshman from Duncanville, he looked like Michael Parsons out there going to the quarterback. He is so fast and gets through that line and strong. And it's going to be a problem, man. And I think Alabama and Georgia could meet again. And I don't know about the outcome, Kyle. I really don't.
Quincy, I appreciate you calling in, man. I'm against time, but good points. I'll answer you real quick on the other line, but call again, man. I appreciate the call from the 903, man. Thank you so much. You know, I think Quincy brings up an interesting point. I mean, if you are a running back and you're looking at the fact that like Jalen Milroe is eating, it's kind of like almost the way that you must feel like being on the Baltimore Ravens, right? And like I watched the game last night and you look to how you have, Lamar Jackson and you have Derrick Henry behind you, right? Like those guys are going to get fed because those are the guys that need the football. This won't be the case next year, right? This won't be the case, I would imagine, against Vanderbilt, against South Carolina. I think you can distribute the football more to Jam Miller and Justice Haynes. I am curious about if there's any wear or tear on Milroe, but we've never really seen him run the ball since, up until this year, which I'm loving. But it is something to think about. I mean, I have the graphic that just showed you that Jalen Milroe over the last two games has 30 carries and Jam Miller has 12 or 14 and, Justice has 12. I mean, for example, against Wisconsin, Justice Haynes had 2 carries. 2. But, like Bama Prob said earlier, hey, if it's not broke, why fix it? They're scoring 40 points a game in 4 consecutive games for the first time since 2019. So, I don't know. Maybe we're nitpicking here, but in terms of passing, that's where I kind of disagree with you, Quincy. I mean, this guy, that performance against Georgia, passing-wise, the short intermediate, the long throws, the big playability, and the one thing that I think we can all agree on is Jalen Milroe, when the game is in crunch time, the guy has big playability. Like, when the lights are turned on the brightest, you want a 4th and 31? I got you. When you want, to come back, I'll throw a 75-yard touchdown. I got you. Last year's SEC title game, you want it? I got you. So he's been in that big-time environment before. He's proven himself. So I think he continues to impress in terms of his passing. I just heard this. I didn't say this. This on ESPN yesterday. They were like, why not Jalen Milroe as the number 1 pick in the draft? I don't know. I haven't even thought about, I don't even look at the quarterbacks. I haven't even looked at the NFL draft. I just heard that yesterday. But I do know that he is the best player in college football, period. That is my opinion. I've been saying that for a long time. William White's coming to us all the way from the UK. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for your support. And thanks for being here right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I'm going to get set up for the 2 press conferences that are coming up next. I'm going to take a short commercial break, and I'll be right back here on Bama Football on YouTube. Coming up next, either Nick Sheridan or Kane Womack right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, I'm going to pull away, fam. I'm not sure who's up next, but just hang tight and stand by, please.
Just to have the control. Just to have the collection. Going south today, baby. Let's go. Yeah, I said that. When he flipped back to Auburn, I think you were with us. Was when we were at the barbecue place, and it was us three.
All right, everybody, we're joined by offensive coordinator Nick Sheridan. We'll go ahead and take questions. Just keep your hands up, and I'll get a mic over to you. Let's start in the back left here with Steven.
Coach, when you look at tight end CJ Dupree, just what makes him unique in having this offense run, especially when it's clicking?
I think CJ's size is rare. You know, he's a big person, and I think he's hard to tackle when he gets going. You know, I think that showed up in the game, and it has shown up, you know, throughout fall camp and spring practice. And so I thought he did a nice job of breaking tackles and running downhill and behind his pads.
Yeah, Coach Deboer noted, and it was easy to see how Jalen's thrown guys open more recently. And I mean, how have you seen him develop in that regard the past couple weeks?
Well, we've put a lot of emphasis on it. You know, that was an area that we felt in the first few games that we could improve, and we spent a lot of time collectively as a staff just trying to simulate that as best you can in practice. And I thought, you know, all the coaches and the players did a real good job, you know, of improving in that area. And, you know, obviously, especially when you're playing tight coverage, you know, the location of the football matters, you know, to give our guys an opportunity to make a play. And the credit, as always, you know, goes to the players for executing in those moments. But that certainly was a point of emphasis from the coaching staff to the players that, you know, we can improve in those areas to try to make sure, you know, that we give our guys an opportunity to make a play, and that the guys catching the ball are aware, you know, of what the quarterback is seeing and anticipating on where he might throw it as well. So, you know, that was a point of emphasis over the last few, you know, weeks, and it showed up in the game. And so there's things that every week you look at that you can improve on, and that you try to address those things in the week of prep.
Jump to the far left to Chase.
How did you assess Elijah Pritchett's play at right tackle?
I thought, you know, up front, I thought the pass protection was solid by and large. I thought there were times in the run game where we could do a better job, and that's not just specifically with Pritch. You know, I'm proud of the progress that group has made. I'm proud of the effort, you know, the toughness, the physicality. But I also know there's lots for us to work on to be more consistent in certain areas. You know, I think it's very easy. Sometimes you watch the game and maybe a player gets a penalty or, you know, something happens and you just assume that it was that person, but that's not always the case, you know. Sometimes somebody else, you know, has an error or a miscommunication or whatever that may be, and you know, that's where the mistake happens, but it falls on someone else's shoulders, you know. So I thought across the line of scrimmage that there were some good moments for sure in the game. Like I said, I thought the pocket was by and large pretty clean, but I thought, you know, there was things in the run game that we could do a better job.
Jump back to the right side of Joe here.
Coach, you called two pretty interesting plays in the first half with trick plays. Can you talk about the decision to dial those up? The pass from Kendrick Law, there was a double pass for Kendrick Law, and then the reversed or double pass to Jeremy Bernard. The decision to use those trick plays when the offense seemed to be going so well without them.
Well, I think without getting into too much detail, about the thought process behind some of those plays, I think every week you're trying to find ways to put your players in the best position to be successful against who they're going against, the scheme, the players, the personnel. And so, those were just plays that we felt, would have a chance. And ultimately it comes down to the execution in practice to give you the confidence, whether it's, a throw, a run, a different type of play. We have all of them in our offense. And I think ultimately the execution that happens in practice gives you the confidence, not just as coaches, but as players, that you can execute those in different moments in the game. And, I think there's value in having a variety of types of plays because it becomes harder to defend. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but I think there's value in those. And some weeks you feel like you have advantages or the looks that you're looking for, and other weeks you don't. And so, you wait for the right times and in the right games to put some of those types of plays in.
Stay on the right side. Let's go to Charlie.
Hey, Coach, just with Ryan Williams, what did you think of the way he played on Saturday? And over the first month of the season, how have you seen him maybe progress and gain confidence?
I don't think confidence was ever an issue as far as him gaining that. I think he's a confident player. And I think that comes from his work ethic and his preparation, and how hard he practices each and every day. And I thought he played well in the game.
Go to the left side here, Tony.
Are there challenges of building consistency in the running game with the running backs where, like, Jalen's getting so many touches and they're not really getting a consistent, 3, 4, 5 touches in a row?
I mean, you could say that that's maybe a factor in it. I don't think that maybe a run in the game on Saturday, we felt maybe that the running backs could have read the run a little bit different. I thought some of the issues with some of the run game was more we didn't block or communicate as well up front as we could have. So I don't think it was a matter of the rhythm of the running backs. I understand the question, but I thought some of the issues we had running the football was more on the communication and the fundamentals up front than it was on, the running backs hitting the right spot or getting into a feel of the game. And so, we try to incorporate as many players as possible. We try to do the things that give us the best, opportunity to get first downs and score points. And so, sometimes guys get into a rhythm and a flow, and sometimes, there's a series or two where guys aren't touching the ball and you got to stay ready and take advantage of those opportunities. And it's a long game. And so I think our guys have done a real nice job of just staying locked in and focused each series, whether or not they got the ball in the previous 4 or 5 plays or not.
Go to Kirk, right up the middle here, Kirk.
Yes, Coach, you had a very efficient start to the game, to say the least. 23 plays, 28 points. And I'm assuming that was scripted, or most of it, or much of it. And I wonder if there's ever a time in a game where you can sort of rinse and repeat that script later in the game.
You're asking if we repeat calls? So,
well, the whole script, for that matter. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always balancing that, between trying to keep the opponent off balance by not running the same plays, and then yet, if you felt like it worked and there was a reason for that, going back, to them. I think, we've ran more than, you talk about the opening script. We repeated some of those calls for sure. And so, I think you're mindful of who you're going against and the adjustments that they're going to make relative to what you've already had success or not with. I think the other piece of that is just because a play didn't work early in the game, I think you have to be honest about why that did or did not happen, and not be afraid to go back to it if it was just an execution or a communication issue. And so there's certainly times where you repeat calls or go back to, a sequence of plays if you felt like it was successful. And you're also trying to think ahead of what the adjustments are that they're going to make based on what you've done.
Let's go to Kyle on the left side.
You already mentioned the wrinkle plays. A lot in the little, like, direct halfback snap. I'm curious with a offense, what do you see in Jalen Milroe to kind of allow him to kind of be a part of those plays? What's kind of like that next step to continue to add those wrinkles, to continue to add diversity in terms of run and pass plays, and kind of keep opposing defenses off balance? What is kind of like that next step?
I think, obviously it always starts with the quarterback on the things that you feel like, you can do well. In that particular play, he didn't have a huge role in that play. He had to do his job. But I think anytime, this goes for players and this goes for units of football, whether it's offense or defense. I think the more you do well, the harder you are to defend. The key is that you do them well, and so that you execute at a high level. And so I think that's the challenge as a staff and as players, is to try to find that sweet spot of doing the things that we can execute at a high level, and then what's the level of variety that you can have to still maintain the level of execution that you're looking for. And so because that's when you become really tough to defend. If it's like a basketball player that can only drive to the rim one way. You can tilt him that way and make him use his other hand, and if he can't get to the rim. And so in football, you got to be able to dribble with both hands and shoot from outside the 3-point line and drive to the rim. You got to have different ways to attack, different schemes, different formations, different concepts, different players, and you're constantly building that as the season goes on. And the things that your opponent is preparing for, the things that you've shown on film, and trying to anticipate and predict based on their structures and their personnel, this is what they might do based on what they've seen. And then, how do we counter that? How do we try to keep them off balance?
Time for a couple more questions. Start in the back right here. Right.
Coach Deboer mentioned after the game the completion percentage with Milroe, how impressive it was. And I'm just wondering, on your perspective, is the sky the limit on what this can be with Milroe and his throwing as well as running and the progression he's made through the season so far?
I don't know if I would use those terms. I know that's. I would just say that we're continuing to improve, and what has happened in the past has no impact on the game this Saturday. There's no carryover yards, points, completions. Each week in this conference and at the highest level of competition in college football, which is what we're in, it starts over, and so you got to earn it each and every week. And so, that's really the message and the focus for the players, is that we have to put a good plan in for the players this week. They, have to practice hard. We got to prepare them. We got to go execute on game day. And no matter what has happened in the past or the completion percentages of previous games, good or bad, has no impact on what the game's going to look like on Saturday. It's about what you do and how well you prepare and how well you execute in those moments. And so obviously that was, a good job, and we needed those, completions to find a way to go 1-0 last week. But the things that occurred last week and the plays that maybe worked last week, that has no impact on the team that we're going against this week. And, you're challenged each week in this league. The coach, Coach Lee and the staff there at Vanderbilt are some of the best defensive coaches in the country. The respect that we have for them is tremendous. And so it'll be a great challenge for our players to try to execute to the best of their ability this week.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thanks. Roll Tide.
questions.
All right. Looking back on the week against Georgia, thought very proud of our players and their ability to compete and find a way to finish. I thought going into the game, from a game plan perspective, I thought we saw about what we expected to get from Georgia offensively. Certainly, their mentality was to take some shots downfield on some younger guys as well, and kind of test our secondary. I thought we handled that really well early on. I thought we did a really nice job in the first half. Guys competed well, were in the right spots, executed really well on third down, and then we were certainly able to create some takeaways and make their quarterback uncomfortable, which was one of our keys to victory, and something we knew we had to be able to do. It was going to be challenging, as I told you last week, in order to get takeaways off of them, but that was certainly a huge key to the game. I thought, for us, we got 10 game changers, as I've talked to you before about those things: takeaways, sacks, 3-and-outs, and I guess a safety would also count into that, as we had this past week. We wanted to get 8+, and we got 10 in the game. But probably the thing that shows up the most was our lack of ability to get off the field on fourth down. We had 7 different times we did not get off the field on fourth down. They were 7 of 0. They were 3 of 15 on third down, and then we're able to execute on fourth down to keep drives alive. When you go up 30-7, you're playing a very different style game from a defensive perspective. Now that this team essentially has 4 downs to be able to get a first down, and so typically what they did and what most teams would do, right? They're going to be way more aggressive on first or second down, take more shots downfield, knowing that they're going to be in a go scenario on fourth down. And so it's one of the most challenging things to handle as a defense. It's even different than 2-minute because you are now defending 4 downs, and they have time. They can take their time. They can take those shots downfield. And I thought at times we handled it really well to get them to fourth down situations, which is hard enough as it is, but we were not able to execute and get off the field. We needed one more stop, one more takeaway, and then certainly, we needed to be able to clean up some of the big plays that, really, if we get off the field on fourth down, some of those things don't happen in the first place. So I thought for us, the coaching staff did a good job making some of those adjustments. You can't play in the second half and just straight zone coverage. If you go look at Carson Beck over his career, the dude does a tremendous job of picking you apart in straight zone coverage. You've got to be able to mix up man and zone. We did some of those things against him, but certainly I thought he did a really nice job in the second half of hitting some explosives that certainly made the game closer than what we wanted from a defensive perspective. So disappointed in a number of things that we did not finish well enough in the second half. Very proud of the fight of our players. I thought, you look at the fourth downs, you look at some of the takeaway opportunities that we missed on. When that happens over and over and again in a game, too many times you've seen a defense essentially fold and give in. And I thought our guys continued to fight all the way until the very end when, a guy, Zabian Brown, gets an interception. I thought, high praise for him to be able to stay in the fight. Thought it was a really great learning experience for some of our younger players. And Coach Deboer mentioned this. We've all had experiences, be it as coaches or players, whether we were here or transferred from another program. You've had experiences where you've had to push through adversity, but now we've done that together. And I think there's a certain level of team chemistry that comes from experiences like that we certainly need to take moving forward. That being said, now as we go into Vanderbilt, I think this team is playing with a lot of energy. You look at their sideline, you look at the level of competitive attitude that those guys play with. I think you see that come from their quarterback. The dude is a real baller. I mean, he's physical, he's tough. He makes the non-traditional play out on the field numerous times. And so he's going to certainly be challenging for us when you look at an option style offense and the way their quarterback certainly navigates their offense. You can tell there's a confidence from the rest of his teammates that I think he breathes into their football team. You see it on the sideline when you watch live copies. The defense feeds into it. The whole team is into it, and they play with a great bit of enthusiasm and chemistry. And we've got to do a great job of going from a game that had a lot of attention and a lot of momentum swings and found a way to win, to do the same thing over and over again. Success, naturally, if you allow it, will breathe complacency into your program, and you have to fight to be able to play to the standard week in and week out, and that's certainly going to be the challenge for us this week.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start on the back right with Ryan.
Yeah, Coach, that pick at the end for a freshman to do that's got to be a kind of a cool moment for you as a coach and maybe a lesson down the road. I asked Coach Deboer, I want to ask you, what does that carry over in your message to the team of stay in the fight?
Yeah, I think I thought, Coach Deboer hit it right on the head with the players. When, we've all had experiences in football where we've had to navigate through adversity, but when you do it together, you can now all draw from that common experience. And so for a guy like Zabian Brown, who, they took shots at him from the second play on, and really he navigated that really well. And honestly, a lot of the downfield throws, I thought we did a really nice job of the majority of the night. But when you have well over 20, I think it was 22 or 23 of them, they're going to connect on some. And they did against him early in the game, in the second half of the game. For him to stay locked into those moments and not be overwhelmed by the adversity, won us the football game ultimately, right? And the confidence that will draw, that he'll be able to draw upon for the rest of his career, the confidence that we'll be able to build off from his teammates, right? Knowing that he can stay in the fight and find a way to win ultimately, I think is something that, I told the defense, nobody in that room will ever forget that moment. You know what I mean? And certainly this season we need to make sure that we rely back on that when adversity comes, which it most certainly will.
Go to back left to Steven.
Coach Damani Jackson had a takeaway also. What makes him stand out as a guy that quarterbacks don't like testing him because of his ability to step up?
Yeah, I mean, Damani has been a real quiet consistency in our program, in our defense for the last 4 games. I think again the other night, I think he maybe got one ball caught on him. Did a really good job at the point of attack. I think from a downfield presence, he's very consistent in his technique. He's become a very physical player, which is exciting to see. That was something that we really challenged him in the offseason, and his ability to go make plays on the ball. And then certainly in the run game or in the perimeter throw game, I think he did a really nice job on that as well. And then certainly we brought out a pressure package that we had been working on all offseason and preparing, and fortunately we're able to hold it until we got into SEC play. And the very first time we call it, Damani does exactly what we expected to do in that situation when they threw the ball out on the perimeter and gets an interception. So awesome to see guys that practice at a high level and consistently be rewarded on game day. And that's you can point to, there were multiple times we worked that exact concept that we thought that they were going to go to and driving the ball. And then, you could pretty much almost pair multiple practice reps to exactly what happened in the game. That's pretty cool.
Go to Kyle on the front left side.
Obviously, disguise has been a prominent part in your defense over the course of these first 4 games, but I mean, it seemed like you guys had a lot more design pressures in getting to the backfield, getting to the quarterback. How do you feel like that worked and against Georgia, and how was that an addition? And then what do you see the role of pressure being moving forward?
Well, I think when you face somebody like Carson Beck that's so experienced, one of the things that we've always been able to hang our hat on as a defense is that we're going to show disguise. We're going to give him one pre-snap picture, and then we're going to give him a different picture post-snap. Sometimes we're going to give him a pre-snap picture, an immediate post-snap picture, and then switch that picture mid-play. And that's where we got a couple of things where, you could tell we've got him a little bit off kilter, and he threw us the ball a couple of times just simply because we're showing him one picture pre-snap, a different picture right at the snap, and then rotating to something else entirely as the play's going on, and we were able to affect him a number of times. Pressure allows you, right, to be able to speed up the quarterback's tempo in the throw game. And so when you're doing some of those disguises, if you have had pressure on the quarterback early on, it allows those disguises to work for you at a much higher rate. And so we were schematically committed to getting in the backfield and making sure that we made him uncomfortable early. I thought we were able to do that. And then, certainly it was able to kind of disrupt his timing. But I'll tell you this, I thought that kid, that young man, rather, did a tremendous job of continuing to fight. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and showed his ability to fight even through some of the adversity. And so very impressed by him, and they've got a very good football team. I thought, Coach Smart did a really tremendous job of keeping his guys in the fight, and certainly impressed with them overall as a team.
Go to Katie, second row on the left.
Defense leads the country in pass breakups, had 9 on Saturday. And I guess some of those are in coverage. Some are just guys reading the quarterback's eyes and batting it down. But just what makes this defense so good at that?
Well, we, from a schematic standpoint, we play a lot of what we call vision style coverage. And even when we're playing man coverage, there are elements of vision that are based into some of our hook drops and hole droppers that we're able to read the eyes of the quarterback and react. And so when you can put your eyes on the quarterback, now you're not just defending people or grass, but you're defending the people and the grass that the quarterback wants to throw the ball to. We went to more of a vision-oriented defense like in 2014. My dad, when he was the D coordinator at Ole Miss, got it from Monty Kiffin, who my dad had GA'd 4 years ago back in 1978. Him and my dad GA'd for Lou Holtz and Monty Kiffin, and so that relationship stayed all the way through the years. And then in 2014, we got kind of the Seattle Seahawks Legion of Boom. Back when they were Legion of Boom, they were the #1 team in the NFL. They were taking the ball off of people more than anybody else, and they were playing with this vision style coverage. And so we got into doing those same things in 2014 as a defense at Ole Miss. We became the #1 scoring defense in the country, #1 in the country in interceptions, and really we've never looked back since. The element of putting vision on the quarterback in a number of different concepts defensively, be it zone or even man, has given us an opportunity to make more plays on the ball, as you're saying.
Yeah, Jaheim Otis is a guy that we haven't seen have as big of a role this season. I think he was past 2 years 4th in snaps for defensive linemen, 7th this year. Like, what's gone into the decision, kind of how you've used him this year?
Yeah, I think I think Jaheim, obviously coming up from the offseason, coming off of an injury, I think he's still finding and hitting his stride, working to hit his stride. I think he's taking steps in the right direction. I think there's growth there, but certainly we want to continue to see him take steps in the right direction. And I think as he continues to take those steps, he has really high potential and an opportunity to impact this team in a large way.
We've got time for 2 more questions. Start with Chase on the left.
How did you think Quay Russaw played coming off an injury, and was he back to 100% as far as you know?
Yeah, I don't know, what percentage he would tell you that he was at. I think, Quay worked so hard over these last 2 weeks to get himself back to a position to where he could contribute and help his team win the football game. Again, I cannot stress enough how important and valuable Jeff Allen and his staff are to our success. They, treat our players with great care and maximize the opportunity for them to create value for themselves on game day. And so, for them, great in the communication. What is Quay feeling? What are the steps that we need to take to get him prepared to go play? And then even, really we weren't sure how many snaps we were going to get out of him or how far we were going to be able to push for him to be able to push himself until, really pregame. And then once he got out there, he was feeling good. And so I think he ended up with 24 snaps on the game. But, I told the players on Sunday, think about all the work Quay put in these last 2 weeks to now get out on the field and then create a takeaway for our defense, and get 24 snaps in the game. And so when players go through some of that, injury adversity, to be able to really push to get through so that you can get back on the field on game day.
You talked heading into this matchup about limiting the production on easy access throws. How big was Zabian in making some of those stops on the perimeter and just wrapping up the ball carriers quickly?
I thought for the majority of the night we did a really good job of that. When we didn't, it was because of fundamentally we weren't putting our eyes on the quarterback and driving the ball. A lot of easy access throws are either you're denying that access throw by your alignment and your leverage, or you're denying it with vision. So when the quarterback goes to throw the ball out on the perimeter, you're able to break off the quarterback's vision. And a couple of times we didn't do a good enough job of that. But I thought particularly Zabian did a really nice job of defending the perimeter, of holding the lateral leverage that you have to do in order to defend the perimeter screen game. And then really for the most part, I thought we tackled well the majority of the night. I think there were probably 2 key missed tackles in the game. Both of them were for explosive plays and one for a touchdown. Keon Sabb, we miss a guy. They had us in a kind of an and go deal. Nice job on their part. We've got to collision the guy at the top of the route and probably can end it right then and there. But they're going to make plays too. When they make plays, we've got to be able to talk about limiting explosives and none for touchdowns. And so you've got to be able to get the guy on the ground and give us a chance to play great red zone defense. In that situation, we didn't do it there. And then we had another one out on the perimeter where Red just didn't drive the hitch route the way he needed to. And so those are things that certainly we've got to continue to work on and get better at. All right, thanks, guys. Roll Tide.
All right, we'll have Coach Deboer make his opening statement, and we'll take questions. Coach.
Yeah, you bet. Good morning. Just following up on a few things. I know we'll talk to post game, covered a lot of the big picture stuff, and coordinators covering a few things here for you. But just continue to be proud of the team. I thought the preparation that we put into, the weeks. We had a bye week there. I thought the guys did an excellent job, and I think the preparation goes back before that too. There's just the continual improvement that we have, and it's something I think that's just inside of these guys. They want to be great. Just proud of the way they bring it every single day and the energy. It shows every day I step on the football field. And so proud of that. And they're doing a lot of things well. I think we're continuing to do more things well on both offense, defense, and also with special teams. Always going to be things that we need to continue to clean up. We know we're only as good as our last game, and everything that's on film or anything that didn't go like you'd hoped, is going to be what the next opponent's going to look at and try to attack you with. So, again, I think looking forward to tomorrow morning and a great practice. Should be full of energy. It needs to be the best Tuesday we've ever had, just because that's the way we have to approach each and every opportunity.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start with Charlie Potter on the far right.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Just with Ryan, how do you teach a guy that young just to manage some of the things that are coming his way from an attention standpoint? Excuse me.
He's obviously got a lot coming his way. Can you give me a water? And a lot of things that we expect him to continue to do, right? Make a lot of plays, and he's going to continue to bring on that attention and just educating him and understanding, both on the field, while he's doing his thing and away from it. Just that the impact he has is seen, the influence he has is great, and just how to manage all of that. So it's just a process, and it's not just with him; it's with every one of our guys. We try to do a really good job of that, there's a lot going on, and every little thing is picked up on, especially these days. And Ryan's first class guy all the way, through and through, and love coaching him. He brings a great work ethic, smile, all the things you want each and every day to practice.
Jumped over to Chase on the far left.
Question you didn't get asked about on Saturday night. When you had the miscue on the kickoff return in the fourth quarter, you got a drive started at your own 3-yard line. Bernard makes a tough catch to move the change. You end up punting on that drive, but you drove it away from the goal line enough that I think Georgia took over on their own 33. How critical was it, even on a drive where you punt, to get it off the goal line?
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And the first point is that we got to do a better job of making sure, that situation doesn't happen. We talked a lot about that yesterday in our special teams meeting, and we'll learn from that. And, getting those first downs and getting yourself some space, and especially when you do have James where he can flip the field, you want to, obviously move the ball further and get more first downs. But that was a big catch, converting there with it was Germ on the catch there. So it's critical because no one likes to be punting in their end zone. That space gets pretty tight, and they did a nice job, converting. But boys felt like getting a couple first downs is the minimum. We didn't get 2 of them, but getting our backs off of the goal line was certainly important there.
Go over to Nick on the right.
Yeah, we had a chance, I think it was right before halftime, that get to see you pretty fiery in a moment. And for a guy who's known for being so even keel, what's kind of your approach for when to kind of show that side of yourself?
Yeah, I don't think you predetermine, when or what you're going to do and all that. But I just, the guys are fighting. And, when you see something a certain way, and I know that I just felt like that was a big time in the game. We were doing a lot of things well, and some opportunities that just, we didn't take advantage of as a team. And that moment right there, we talk about the middle 8 and going to the locker room with a lot of momentum. And I know we got a safety there right in that area too, but there were some missed opportunities that we'd have loved to have had. And I was just, fighting for my team. And I know they were out there fighting and doing everything they could. And so just loved the way we were playing up until that point. I wanted to keep it going, and I saw it a certain way and wanted to make it known. So,
back left, Steven.
The tight ends were used a lot throughout the game, especially C.J. Dupree. Like, how does he make this offense go?
The tight end has always been an extremely critical part of our offense. The ability to be able to line up wide, come in tight, hand down, off the ball. The more things all guys can do, especially skilled players in our offense, the more versatile we'll become. Receivers who can run the ball. We saw that with some guys Saturday night, running backs that can catch the ball. We saw that for a touchdown and some other opportunities as well. Just that versatility to where a defense coordinator, putting a game plan has to give them all these different, elements of how we're going to attack. With CJ in particular, he's continued to, find his way into this offense, and guys finding him, whether it's Jalen or us just understanding, the best way is to utilize him the way he's most comfortable. He did a nice job, and he has done a nice job taking advantage of these opportunities, and there was just more of them. And that was part of the plan, things that fit a lot of different ways where we felt we could attack, and he did a nice job, all game long, as well as did the other tight ends.
We got a few questions from the front here. Row, let's start with Jack.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned the safety, that coming right off of an interception. How big was that just from a momentum standpoint to see your defensive unit make a stand like that and put some points on the board right after a turnover on offense?
Yeah, it's huge. And, really, the defenses love to be in that spot. Didn't like that how we got into that spot because we had to kick it down to him there. Or that was actually out the interception. That's even worse, right? But taking advantage, and when a team has their backs to the wall, just like we just spoke of with our back to the wall, that's a tough spot to be in. And I thought Coach Womack and the defense dialed some good things up and put them in a really uncomfortable spot where they had to, really react quickly. And, we got the intentional grounding. So those 2 points, all points, as we saw at the end of the game, were really critical. And, I think when it comes to points in general, and this is a little off the topic, that's one thing I loved about our team. The 2-point conversions at the end, whether it's us scoring or us stopping them, understanding the significance of every point. And that goes for extra points in the middle of the game or first quarter. I think our guys play hard each and every time, each and every play, but especially when those points are at stake.
You mentioned the running backs getting involved in the passing game. I think that throw, the touchdown pass to Jam, might have been Jalen's most, perfectly placed pass of the night. Just how have you seen him improve in those intermediate throws, 10 to 19 yards past line of scrimmage?
Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me in the moment even is that he didn't even think twice, and that is just something I think is coming along more and more. I think when it comes to Jalen's game, there's the fundamental piece, right, that you're always working on. And there's also then the element of understanding the offense and what we're trying to accomplish with concepts. And then there's a trust that has to be there with the other guys that are there in front of you to block, the guys that are running the routes, just all of it coming together. And I think you just see in each and every week those steps in all those areas happening, and the progress he's making, and that doesn't just happen. You have to intentionally work at all of it, and it's communication. Hey, I might throw that in there if you have a step on him. It's just reaffirming with each and every one of them in practice, and that's a lot of work. And he brings that energy, he brings that intentionality each and every day.
Hey, Coach, I'm sure you'd probably love to have the success in the second half as you did the first half, but how important was it for your team to be battle tested, and what'd you learn about them?
Yeah, it's important for us to now have this each game provides experiences, right? Every game, every opportunity, and we all have our experiences outside of being here at Alabama, all the areas, places we came from, and we talked about this as a team. For us to start fast like we have really the last 2 games. We did against Western Kentucky, the South Florida game. I think we learned a lot, but I really like that because that shows the preparation, the confidence that is a result of it. We hit the ground running. Yes, we would like to have a better second half. There's literally one play here, one play there, a small little piece that would have in the early part of the third quarter, mid part of the third quarter, completely changed that game. And unfortunately, it did happen, and we have to continue to learn from that. Continue to just understand that those moments become big, and so that experience that we went through, whether it was the missed opportunities or how resilient we were at the end, and learning that, in the end, it was a team win because the offense scored and the defense stopped them, and it took both sides of the ball doing everything they could to help us win that football game. And so there's a good positive vibe because it wasn't just one side or the other that carried the weight or found a way to win. It was a team win, and we'll learn from that and continue to trust and believe in each other and continue to grow as a team because of it.
Go ahead, Colin.
Hey, Kalen. I'm curious, as a former offensive coordinator, how difficult is Kane Womack's swarm defense, the disguise that it brings? How hard is that for an offense to plan against?
Yeah, and there's a reason why, I wanted Kane to be here. I saw it back in 2019 when I was at Indiana with him and really liked a lot about what he was doing, whether it was schematically or how he brought a unit together, the support he gives me and the type of person he is. I could go on and on. But when it comes to what your question was about, what he can do, I think it's a little bit different than what you see from, and every defense has got their style. So, a lot of people are probably going to say that, but there's a mix of attacking style with the opportunity or the way of just making people earn it. And he can just kind of pull on that and make it kind of look the same from play to play. And he's got a great mindset, great schematic system that he can really draw upon to be able to pull the trigger on whatever he wants, and then being able to communicate it through his staff and make it simple for our guys to allow them to play fast is, I think, what you're also seeing, especially early in the season here as a new team. There's still just stuff that's happening that we haven't been through, experiences and situations, and each and every game. That's one thing you just worry about going into a game like this is it's an early game of the season, gets a very quality opponent, and all those situations that you try to get your team to understand and prepared for during spring, summer, fall, they're never the same as when it happens out there in the moment. And Kane's just done a great job preparing the defense and allowing them to play fast and do the things they're doing. 4 takeaways against a team that hadn't had any turnovers. That's a big deal.
Back right, Ryan.
Coach, a lot of talk after the game about the atmosphere on Saturday, how electric it was, and I was, nationally, and I was even talking to fans yesterday at a restaurant that said they haven't seen Bryant-Denny like that. It was really loud. How big is that moving forward? What's your message to the fans?
You're helping me out. I appreciate that. I was going to talk about that because that was a huge deal, and we are. The guys are in a hotel and they're going through walkthroughs and all of that, whether it's Friday night, Saturday, and you don't really have a sense of what's going on out there. I got a chance to go out there on game day, the set, and get a good feel of it, and maybe just give them a heads up that, hey, it's going to be a fun day. It's going to be a lot of energy, and when we start pulling into the stadium, you instantaneously could feel it. And I'm on that first bus with the guys, and their eyes were wide open and excited about what they were feeling and seeing. And then, of course, just throughout the game, I just can't tell you enough. I think there's just an energy. It's not like you pick out any single thing. Like, I still haven't, I hate to say this, I'm embarrassed to say this, Dixieland Delight. I still haven't really experienced it. I don't know when. I thought it was supposed to happen between the third quarter and the fourth quarter, but it must happen another time. So the lights go out, and I'm thinking it's going to happen, and it doesn't happen. So I'm still learning myself. But the energy, the excitement of it, there's just something special about playing in Bryant-Denny. I can't tell the fan base how much the guys love it, and we appreciate it and can't wait to continue to do it again.
Last question, Jamie.
Coach, where would you rank Saturday's game and all the past games you've been a head coach in?
Yeah, there's a lot of great ones. I think I go back to, I think this has been brought up, I think maybe in Coach Womack talked about it, the experiences you've been through. Like, I've been through enough to where I just think so optimistically, like, we can do this. We can do this, and trying to get that to your team is the tricky part because they haven't been through all those experiences. They don't have enough games under their belt to be able to have something that's happened at almost every spot in the field, offensively, defensively. We can get that an interception, just believing that's going to happen, or we can convert this 4th down. We can get this touchdown. And it's definitely up there because there was certainly the ebbs and flows to an extreme when it comes to the lead, the loss of a lead, and then even in the last 2.5 minutes, just how the game went back and forth. So it is a big one. I think the significance of it being our first conference game against a top-ranked opponent, taking all of those things in. It's as big as any. I mean, I have a lot of pride in winning some national championships and things like that, so that's internal. But this is where my feet are at right now, and so this is the most important one I've ever won, and it ranks at the top.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Fam, what's going on? It's Kyle Henderson. I appreciate you guys being here today. I hope you guys enjoyed my segment in the morning, and then also Coach Womack, Coach Sheridan, and Coach Kalen Deboer. I thought that was a fantastic press conference. I'm going to go chop it up and get them uploaded to the YouTube channel. I appreciate it. Remember, our show is also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much. Remember, you can follow us on our Facebook page, Bama Football on YouTube, very active Facebook page, basically like our website. Almost 30,000 followers. I appreciate you guys being a member of Bama Football on YouTube. If you're a fan funder, thank you so much. If you super chatted today, thank you so much. You know where to find me on Bama Football on YouTube. You know what, KGU, that's a good point. Coach Kalen Deboer wasn't asked about injuries, so I guess we'll have to, get that another time from Coach. Maybe those injuries weren't that significant, so we'll keep you posted as the news comes in. Kyle Henderson and Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys. Remember, I put my heart, my soul into every single show. I hope you guys understand that, from the graphics to the delivery, to everything that you see. I do this all by myself. Everything you saw today, I did it all by myself. And so that is the product, and that is the standard because you guys follow the #1 football team. You guys should have the #1 college football YouTube channel, which I feel right here at Bama Football on YouTube. Please support, the players, all the other great content creators. My name is Kyle Henderson at Bama Football on YouTube. I love you. I appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon as news happens right here on Bama Football on YouTube.